Hey, this is Matt once again. We're back to another video, and this is a paid request for Alan. Alan Stanley, very nice guy, very generous in the past. Thank you so much for your patience and for your generosity. I really appreciate it. As well as everyone else out there. If anyone would like to request any type of video, movie review, re-review, video game playthrough for an hour, a full playthrough, random thoughts, streams, commentaries, whatever the case may be, PayPal's the best way to do it. Do have a CashApp as well. Links are down below in the info box. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. And for those who sent them, thank you. I do appreciate it. Now this is for The Rule of Jenny Penn, which I vaguely had heard of this title, but I did not know much about it. And I know places say 2024, but I'm going to put it 2025 because I was in one festival. Fuck that shit. It was in 2020. Most people review it as going to be 2025 because that's when most were able to see it is 2025. So I'll put it there. Now, what's cool about this film is it stars two great actors, John Lithgow and Geoffrey Rush. Both are talented actors and they do a wonderful job in this. And overall, I would say that's why I liked it. Just to right off the get-go, I did like this film. Was it an amazing film, 5 out of 5 star film? No, but I did like it because of these two actors. And really at the end of the day, it's a battle of wills against these two. And it's a take on bullying, elder abuse, and John Lithgow plays the villain. Geoffrey Rush plays the guy trying to take on John Lithgow. And like I said, both these actors, John Lithgow, ever since I saw him in Harry and the Hendersons, I've always been a fan of his. And then Cliffhanger, wonderful. He could be a really good guy like in Harry and the Hendersons, really good bad guy in Cliffhanger. He could play both very, very well. Always enjoyed him. He did a great job here, playing a real piece of shit person. And then Geoffrey Rush, he was great in the remake of House on Haunted Hill. He's done many other films throughout the years. And I really liked him. He plays his judge. And while he's doing a proceeding, he sadly has a stroke. Because of the stroke, he goes into a home, elderly care, and you tell it part of his face is a bit paralyzed. He's trying to talk like this, and he is trying to get himself better, and he's hoping that he'll stay here for a bit, although as time goes on it seems like that less and less likely. He has his roommate Tony, which I thought that actor did a pretty decent job for the role he's trying to portray. Tony's a guy who used to be this rugby player. He's a little bit more in shape and fit compared to Geoffrey Rush, but he's got some stuff of his own. It's a really, at least for me, really feel sorry for Geoffrey Rush's character. You really see his struggle and recovery. And then you kind of find out that John Lithgow is a bully. He is a guy who is preying upon the residents, as he's also one of the residents. And from time to time, late at night, he'll sneak into rooms and do as he pleases. Belittle, mock. He'll have this little hand puppet named Jenny Penn, and he'll act through it. Mocking people, talking shit to people. People who are scared, they're not sure what to do, they're not really physically fit to do anything, or psychologically fit to do anything. And John Lithgow will make like the rugby player Tony, like, come on, you kiss it, and make the guy lick the doll's ass, and all this crazy shit, because John Lithgow is just that much of a empowered in being a bully. And Geoffrey Rush is the guy who's, for the most part, not going to stand for it. even as he's affected by the stroke, even as more and more he's having to settle in a wheelchair, and he's going to do what he can. Now, it is a slow burn. It's not a... Based on the cover, you may think it's some supernatural with a doll. It's not that at all. It's very much more psychological. It's not like a big action. Like, again, these are older folks, and they're in elderly care, so there's not like thankfully, not a whole lot of jump scares and things of that nature. It really is this slow burn between these two individuals, as well as the elderly care around them, where the higher ups, the people working there, are so oblivious. And I'm 50-50 on that. On the one hand, I get it, because sadly there are people who do this stuff who really don't care about the elderly or don't really do their jobs right. I mean, I've seen videos where, what was this? God, I'm trying to remember the guy's name, where he went in for like one day and he saw just how unprepared these people were, and how they had this one guy that this is like him ready to train, and they have him like working the entire floor. I'm like, what the fuck? This is great. And I know this takes place in New Zealand, so I don't know, maybe over there, like the director or such, like making some kind of diatribe of what goes on over there in New Zealand. But I mean, there are places, Sally, that they don't really care as much about the people as they should. Not every hospice, not every place, but there are some that do. So that's why it didn't bother me as much. But sometimes it just, purposely, you get infuriated. It's like, God damn, to these people, are they that oblivious? And then part of me is like, are there such thing as security cameras? But I looked it up, and I guess it depends. Some do, some don't have security cameras. Some don't because of invasion of privacy, but some do. I think it's based on maybe the residents. Although there's many times you're sitting there going, if all of you said it at the same time to the workers, you all said this one guy is the problem, they would more than likely have to believe you if you all said it. But again, you wouldn't have a movie, and you could chalk it up maybe to some of them, again, they're not in their right mind, and they're feeble, or they're scared, and all that stuff. So how that's going to depend on you and how you feel about those aspects of the film. Again, what I liked about it is the two actors and them going toe to toe. And that was what was intriguing to me. And I like some of the little details of what the quirkiness, which I'll get into with spoilers. I guess I'll start now, because at the end of the day, whether you watch this film or not is going to be how you feel about John Lithgow and how you feel about Geoffrey Rush. If you're like me, and you enjoy these two actors, you want to see them kind of battle the wits, go toe-to-toe, I think it's a very interesting watch, with a very deranged performance by John Lithgow. And in Geoffrey Rush, it made it, even though I wouldn't say he was an ass at the beginning, he's just very stuck in his ways and wanting to get better, and what's the word I'm looking for? Stubborn. Very stubborn guy. Which does help him for a bit, though. It's worth a watch for that. So, spoilers. When I say like certain weird stuff, like there's this guy Geoffrey Rush talks to who's in a wheelchair, like smoking and drinking. And so Geoffrey Rush goes over here, but then the guy accidentally sets himself on fire, which I didn't expect. And it's practical fire, and Geoffrey Rush is horrified. Help, help, help. I didn't expect that, pretty early on, someone catches himself on fucking fire. I'm like, okay, that's a way to start. And then we get into, like I said, with Geoffrey Rush as a judge, and definitely buy him as a judge. He's a very capable actor. Like I said, he has a stroke. He goes into elderly care, and it's one of those things where, like, as he realizes he's getting worse and worse, like, there's some nice pieces of direction that are subtle. Like, there's this lawn shot where the worker's like, "Hey, I gotta do something. Can I leave you alone?" Sure, sure. I can take care of myself. And when she's gone, there's this lawn shot where he kind of dives into the water. I'm thinking, oh, is he going to do what I think he's going to do? It's a fairly long shot where you see the side of the tub, and there's like nothing and nothing and nothing. And then all of a sudden he's trying to struggle because he's trying to drown himself. And he's obviously, trying to take as much time as he can. And he doesn't want to struggle, but it's instinct. It's a very lengthy shot to a point like, oh, like it gives the right sense of uneasiness, as it should. And it helps, for me, feel sorry for Geoffrey Rush's character. And then Lithgow, just how deranged he is. Like, he'll play this song and he'll dance in front of everybody obnoxiously to annoy them. How there's this woman who's seen now, and he's like, "Hello, anybody home?" Or he'll go in, he'll take someone's like urine thing and throw it on them, and it'll seem as if he pissed himself. And people wonder, like, well, how come the orderlies believe in Lithgow so much? Well, later on you find out John Lithgow used to be a janitor there. He used to be a janitor there many, 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 many years. And then you just see that when the orderlies are there, he kind of acts a bit more crazy, like he doesn't understand the world. But then when the orderlies are gone, you tell he's much more focused. Still crazy. So in a way, he's put on an act for the orderlies. And again, because of his history, they believe in him more. Again, there's that piece in my mind going, well, again, if, like the Tony guy. Like, Geoffrey Rush keeps telling Tony, "Hey, why don't you back me up and tell the orderlies too?" And he's like, "No, no, no." Because he says some story, he tells a story about another guy who died because of something that happened. And he's like, "I don't want my family to find me gone and something has happened where they look embarrassed." And I just think that John Lithgow will do something that will result in something embarrassing, and he doesn't want to leave this mortal coil with his family thinking of that. I'm sitting there going, at the same time, like, you're a rugby player, and you still seem a bit more fit than John Lithgow. It seems like you could get one big hook and smack him right in the face. But anyway, so Tony, like, I like the actor who played Tony. Sometimes his character would get on my nerves for that, but that's the purpose. That's the arc that eventually he'll get to, where he finally does stand up for himself. But I do like Geoffrey Rush's character. I keep repeating that because I like how verbally he'll stand up to John Lithgow and he'll say, "Well, so what's your excuse, huh? You over medicated, huh? Softening of the brain? Or you always been a stupid cunt?" And there's a bit where John Lithgow keeps kicking Geoffrey Rush's leg, and like Geoffrey Rush can't move a whole lot, or at least too well, because of the stroke and the remnants of it. So John Lithgow will keep talking and then keep kicking his leg, and you never know, people get bruised pretty easily around here. And there'll be like one bit where Geoffrey Rush is like, "I'm not talking to a fucking puppet," and he'll spit on the puppet, and then John Lithgow gets upset that spits on Geoffrey Rush. And that's what I mean. At least it's this back and forth that to me, these two guys is the strongest part of the movie. Now, could the movie have been cut down about 10 minutes or so? Sure. Maybe have a little bit more faster pace. Would it be nice to have maybe at least one or two orderlies like wonder maybe Geoffrey Rush and them has a point and maybe they see something a bit cautious about John Lithgow? Maybe. But you see things amplify as the film goes on. So like John Lithgow, he takes bully. I did like a lot of bullies. They think they get away with something, so they up the ante. So like the senile old woman, this sad woman that wants to see her family. John Lithgow opens the door. Oh, your family's over there. Go, go. Your family's over there. Then she walks off because she doesn't know any better, and Lithgow's like goodbye. Then realizes he's got the wrong T card, so he runs over, finds her, and he doesn't hear that she's dead. Which I guess she walked somewhere and I just tripped and fell and somehow died. Or I don't know if it's the exposure that killed her. Because it's not like she was... Because he left and then went to search for her. It's probably like 20 minutes or so. So I don't know if just the exposure killed her or she tripped and fell or something. I don't know what killed her. It's just she's dead in the mud, so I don't know. But granted, they're frail, anything that just could have happened. But just like John Lithgow, you just hate this character. But in a way that you're supposed to. Because, like, he doesn't care that she's dead. He just, oh, I got the thing, and then able to go along his merry way. Some of the editing I liked. This is one montage where there are times where Geoffrey Rush will space out. So, for example, at the very beginning of the film, there was this bud that he killed with a tissue. Well, much later on, he thinks of that again, but when he hits the tissue keeps bleeding more and more and more. He sees these weird images, especially this weird one where he's like in a courtroom and he sees the puppet, but it's like a gigantic puppet. I'm like, you know what? That's a better way of doing it than, what was that? Cultichutty? Or Cursichutty? Or Cultichutty. Because that was in some kind of some care or asylum or something. And you had like this weird vision where you had like a big chutty. Like this, I don't know, I thought the way this was handled looked a bit better. I mean, it does look goofy at first, but it's just something about the way it's edited and Geoffrey Rush's reaction. Like, it worked for me at least. And it's just the fact that, it makes you think about the people that we do put in elderly care and how they seem, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Vulnerable. Just how vulnerable people can be. And what if you had someone that took advantage of that and kept getting away with it? That could be a very dour thing. And I appreciate that kind of story being told because you don't see that story told a whole lot nowadays. Nowadays, it's kind of like the same story told over and over again, usually with younger teens. But the fact that this is done with older people, older actors, adults, telling with some dark humor in there, but a serious story. It's not another exorcism movie. It's not another fucking remake, sequel, prequel thing. Something a little bit more original, and I do appreciate that. It just makes it a little bit more refreshing. I like the bit where Geoffrey Rush goes into John Lithgow's room when Lithgow's gone, and you're not sure what he did at first, but then you realize Lithgow's character has to deal with, he needs inhalers. He's got like asthma and stuff. So Geoffrey Rush took all the inhalers and dumped them all out. Now, there's something that happens when he's in the room that I thought they were going to delve into, but they didn't. I don't know if I missed it or they cut it out. There's a bit where when Geoffrey Rush is in John Lithgow's room, he sees like a postcard or something. It's like a beach, and like there's some stuff written on the back. I thought that was going to lead to something. Some clues. Maybe Geoffrey Rush is able, because he's a judge, maybe he's got contacts. He could talk to someone, because I'm sure they could be allowed to call sometime, and talk to someone. Hey, you owe me one. Gets information and use that against John Lithgow. Or something. But no, maybe I'm wrong and I missed it, and I apologize if I did, but nothing really came about that. So I'm like, well, what was the point of the... I say postcard, but it's like a picture. Like, what was the point of that? If you've seen the film, ask me. What was the point of that? I don't know. I did like that from time to time we do see this really cool looking cat. I don't know what brand. It's like a... I don't want to say like a wildcat. Like, it's a very cool looking cat. It's like a cat with like a little mane and stuff. I really like the look of the cat. It's like the only one to kind of go around. I know some people delve into it and say that the cat's like a harbinger of death. Each time the cat's around someone, it means more likely they're going to die soon. And I guess you could look at it that way. Maybe that's what its purpose was. I just like that. It's a, I thought it was a cool looking cat. That's all. I guess I was just thinking more with the cat. I was just thinking more optimistic. I get why people think that though. Again, that's probably the intention, but I didn't think too deeply about the cat. Like, oh, cool, it's a cat. And the cat's just, going around, Other than John Lithgow, really the only one to wander around and kind of see what's going on. Ultimately, the slow burn does come to a head where John Lithgow gets better from it, wants revenge on Geoffrey Rush, pushes his wheelchair, dumps him, pretty much ready to force himself on this woman. I'm sitting there going, where the fuck are the orderlies? You tell me now again, it's what I said before. There are some, but it's like this big ruckus and people are yelling and dumping a wheelchair and, people are more yelling and this is out like in the public, not like a private room, and not one fucking orderly, not even one. It's like, what's the noise here? Like you either go with it or you don't. But I do like that Geoffrey Rush, even though he's gotten worse because of his physical ailment, the fact he gets up and smacks John Lithgow in the arm and smacks him in the... It was cool to see Geoffrey Rush still fight back. That even a guy who's still fighting his own body is able to do that. Just makes him much more, braver in a way. After that, it kind of lost me for a little bit because fairly soon after... But I get why it did this. But fairly soon after, like, even though he had this act of defiance, Geoffrey Rush is in bed at one point, and then John Lithgow comes up to him, and then Geoffrey Rush kind of gives up and does to the doll what that guy Tony did before. And I just thought there'd be a bit more to that scene. I didn't really like seeing, at that point, to see him give up like that. But it was to serve for the story of Tony, that okay, now that he's given up, now it's time for Tony to act. I get that. There's a part of me that would have just preferred Geoffrey Rush versus John Lithgow. that maybe Geoffrey Rush faced this. He faced giving up. The idea of John Lithgow thinking he would win. Like maybe this is something that Geoffrey Rush learned in his years of being a judge. That sometimes you don't want to play your hand too early, or sometimes you gotta use a bit of fakery. You gotta use a little bit diversion, tactic. Like, I thought I kind of would have preferred that, and just stick to the mono versus mono a mono, and just not have the Tony character. Because the actor did fine, but just Geoffrey Rush, John Lithgow, they were to be the main stars of the movie, the heavy hitters. But it does make, and I thought, like, that's another thing. When he does give up and allows John Lithgow to do that to him with the doll thing and stuff, they're by themselves, so it's not like Tony sees this. If Tony saw that and went, it's one thing that was being done to me, but to see this done to another and this guy, now it's time for me to act. Then that would have bought him rising up to the occasion a bit more. Instead, really all that happens is he sits down and talks to Geoffrey Rush and goes, "You're a lot stronger than you look." And then Geoffrey Rush doesn't really look at him. And then Tony's kind of doing this. And then he just turns to John Lithgow, and then he starts trying to do this thing of his people, this kind of taunt. And I'm like, well, that kind of came out of nowhere. Maybe not completely out of nowhere, but I don't know, like kind of out of nowhere. Like, I don't know. Because even when Geoffrey Rush hit John Lithgow, if he was there and saw the whole thing, but I don't think he was there to see it. At least I don't remember it. I could be remembering wrong. So that's what I mean by this part kind of lost me, and I thought it was kind of messy and could have been written and done better. But then by the end, and I said spoilers, Tony stares down John Lithgow, and Lithgow kind of realizes, okay, I can't, this guy means a bit of business. Leads Lithgow to the laundry room. Geoffrey Rush and Tony pounce on the guy, use both of them and these towels in the laundry room to suffocate John Lithgow. Which, I mean, on one hand, seems like, okay, but what more can they do, because they are older people and one's a stroke victim, so it's not like you have a bigger, it'd be hard to imagine like a bigger than usual ending, you know what I mean? And then everything's fine. You know, people seem to be happier. Geoffrey Rush is willing to talk to people more, you know, the other residents. And then the cat goes up and kind of sits down and looks at him, and Geoffrey Rush looks down at the cat. Now, a lot of people, they maintain that means more than likely Geoffrey Rush will die soon, but at least he was able to do something. At least he was able to accomplish something. At least in this point, the last however long will be safe and nice and no bullying and stuff. I didn't get that the first time. I just figured, oh, the cat warmed up to Geoffrey Rush. And, hey, you're the hero. I like you now. I guess I was just thinking more simple and optimistic, but, you know. I guess it depends on however you want to look at it, but other than, I think, like, the third act, there's some stuff I'd rather have done and go a different way. And I think there's maybe about 10 minutes you could, or 5-10 minutes you could shave off of it. That the postcard thing in John Lithgow's room, I thought there was going to lead is like something more sinister background maybe for John Lithgow's character, or some kind of secret we get to know more about him. But yeah, the movie definitely made you feel for the characters, at least Geoffrey Rush. It gives you food for thought about how people in hospice and the elderly system, how they can be ignored, how there could be one person that just preys on the others, that may go on a lot more often than we want to realize or we want to think. And it's very sad because the people that could be easily victimized and they don't deserve it. But it definitely gives you a bit of food for thought. And like I said, Geoffrey Rush and John Lithgow was a good 1-2 punch, and those two are the main reasons why overall I did like the film. Did I love the film? No, but I did overall like it for what it is. It wasn't a cheap jump scare B movie. It definitely tried to go a little bit more than the usual, and I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye for now.